If you don't send the money now, he might not make it. My dad's voice crackled through my phone at 1:04 a.m., frantic, desperate, but painfully familiar. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, the blue glow of my screen lighting my tired face. Then I said 6 words that made him go silent. "Call your perfect son, Dad. Not me." And I hung up. My name is Lena Harwood, I'm 32, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the family's walking ATM. The responsible one, the stable one, the one they only remembered existed when someone needed something. Meanwhile, my younger brother, Ryan, the golden child, could burn the house down and my parents would blame the wind. So when my dad called demanding $40,000 for Ryan's emergency surgery, it wasn't concern I felt. It was exhaustion. Years and years of it. I lay back down, letting the silence swallow the leftover adrenaline. My apartment felt still, peaceful, a peace I had fought for after clawing my way out of that family's emotional quicksand. I told myself Dad was exaggerating like always, manipulating like always. And even if Ryan was in the hospital, why should I be the one funding his life yet again? But still something in my chest tightened. A tiny voice whispered, "What if this time it's real?" I pushed it aside and forced myself to sleep. It didn't last long. At 7:13 a.m. sharp, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer until I saw the caller ID tag. Police Station, East District. My breath caught. "Hello," I croaked. A calm male voice replied, "Is this Lena Harwood?" "Yes. We need you to come in regarding your brother, Ryan Harwood. There's been a development." My stomach dropped. A development? What does that mean? Is he okay? There was a pause, too long, too heavy. "Ma'am, it's about last night. And about the person who called you." My blood froze. "What about him?" I whispered. The officer exhaled slowly. "That call wasn't what you think." Before I could ask anything, he said, "Please come down immediately." My world tilted, and that was just the beginning. The drive to the East District Police Station felt unreal, like I was moving through a fog that thickened the closer I got. My mind kept circling the same questions. Why would the police call me? What development? And what did they mean? The call wasn't what I think. When I walked inside, an officer at the desk spotted me instantly, as if he'd been waiting. "Miss Harwood? This way." He led me down a quiet hallway into a small interview room. No cuffs, no accusations, just a table, 2 chairs, and a file sitting unopened like it was holding its breath. A detective entered a moment later. Late 40s, calm eyes, a demeanor that made you brace for impact. "I'm Detective Rowan," he said. "Thank you for coming in. Please have a seat." I lowered myself slowly, my palms cold. "Detective, my brother. Is he okay?" He hesitated, and that hesitation was an answer I didn't want. "Ryan is stable," he said carefully. "He underwent treatment last night." I exhaled shakily. "Then why am I here?" My dad called me at 1 a.m. saying, "That's exactly what we need to talk about." He slid the file toward me, but didn't open it. "Your father didn't call 911. He didn't drive Ryan to the hospital. He didn't even accompany him." I blinked. "What? Then who?" "He left him," the detective said bluntly. "Your father walked out of the bar after an argument. Witnesses say Ryan collapsed in the parking lot about 10 minutes later." My pulse thudded in my ears. "No," I whispered. "Dad said he was with him. He said the doctors needed payment up front." Detective Rowan shook his head. "He wasn't there. And that call he made? We traced it. He called you after the hospital reported the incident to him. He wasn't panicking for Ryan's health," his eyes hardened. "He was panicking because your brother named him in the police report." I stared. "My dad? Named for what?" Rowan opened the file at last. "For abandoning an incapacitated adult in a medical crisis. And possibly contributing to the incident that put him there." My stomach twisted. But he wasn't finished. "There's more," he said quietly. "Your father also told the hospital you'd be covering the bills. He signed your name on the financial responsibility form." The room spun. My father hadn't been asking for help. He'd been setting me up. And the detective's next words sent a crack right down the center of my chest. Miss Harwood, this wasn't the first time he used your name financially, was it? I felt the blood drain from my face. Because he was right that I didn't answer him at first. I couldn't. My mouth had gone dry, my heartbeat turning into a dull roar in my ears. Detective Rowan didn't push. He just waited, letting the silence fill the room like rising water. Finally, I swallowed. I don't know what you mean. He gave me a knowing look. Lena, I've spoken to people who say your father has a pattern that favors shortcuts. And whenever trouble shows up, he seems to have one person he leans on. My throat tightened. Of course he did. The same person he guilt, manipulated, and emotionally strong-armed since she was 19.
Me.
I've made a few payments in the past, I admitted, staring at my shaking hands. Small things. Well, not small, really. But I thought. I stopped. The truth tasted bitter. You thought helping him would keep the peace, Rowan finished softly. I nodded, ashamed of how easily I'd fallen into the role of fixer, protector, scapegoat, anything my family needed me to be, except a person with boundaries. And your brother? Rowan asked. How does he fit into all this? I laughed weakly. Ryan? He's the sun, the universe, the heir to every excuse my parents ever invented. He can do no wrong, even when he does everything wrong. Rowan tapped the file. According to witnesses, your father and brother argued about money last night. Someone mentioned your name. A bartender heard your dad say, "She'll pay." She always does. The words punched through me. It wasn't new. It still hurt. He's been using you as a financial fallback for years, the detective continued. But last night he took it further. He attempted to sign a legally binding document under your name. A slow-burning anger crawled up my spine. So, you're saying my own father tried to trap me with a $40,000 hospital bill after abandoning my brother in a parking lot? Rowan nodded once. Why bring me here? I asked. What do you expect me to do? His jaw tightened. Because the hospital has security footage of him signing your name. They're preparing a fraud claim. And his eyes locked on mine. Your father is trying to say you authorized everything. My breath caught. He's blaming me? Rowan nodded. And your brother, once he woke up, he backed your father's story. For a second, I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Ryan. My brother. The one I'd bailed out of trouble more times than I could count. He said what? I whispered. That you agreed to cover the bill, Rowan said. That you've always taken care of him. That this time was no different. The betrayal hit like a blow to the ribs. My father had set me up for financial ruin. And my brother, he'd handed him the knife. But it wasn't until a thought flickered through my mind, cold, quiet, sharp, that everything inside me shifted. If they wanted a villain, they were about to meet one. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and betrayal. Detective Rowan walked me through the automatic doors, his badge clearing us past the front desk. I moved on autopilot, my fingers curled into fists so tight my nails bit skin. Part of me wanted to turn around and leave, the part still clinging to the fantasy that my family wouldn't really go this far. But the other part, the one that had been stepped on, used, and discarded, needed to see it. Needed the truth burned into memory so I would never, ever forget who they truly were. We stopped outside a room with a half-open sliding door. Rowan gestured inside. Your brother's awake. The hospital administrator is with him. You should hear this yourself. I stepped in quietly. Ryan lay in the bed, pale but conscious, one arm wrapped in tubing. My father sat beside him, hunched forward, speaking fast to the administrator, a stern woman holding a clipboard like a weapon. Dad, didn't see me.
Not yet.
I already told you, he said, waving one hand dismissively. My daughter approved the charges. She's always covered for him. Don't drag us into legal nonsense. She's good for it. The administrator didn't blink. Sir, the signature does not match her previous records. And she has not answered any of our confirmation calls. My father scoffed. She said she was half asleep when I called her. Of course she didn't remember. She agreed. My son needed medical care. What kind of sister refuses that? That was when I took a step forward. "The kind who wasn't asked," I said. Their heads snapped toward me. My father's expression flickered. Shock, fear, then anger. Ryan's face drained as quickly as his forebag. "Elena," Dad stammered. Good, you can clear this up. Tell them you approved." "I didn't," I cut in sharply. "And we both know you forged my name." The administrator looked between us, her eyes narrowing. My father stood. "Don't be dramatic. You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" I asked. My voice didn't shake. For the first time in years, it didn't shake. Because according to the police, abandoning your son after he collapses in a parking lot and committing financial fraud is very much in proportion. Ryan swallowed. "Lena, look, Dad didn't mean." I held up a hand. "Save it. You let him write my name on that form. You let him blame me." He looked away, jaw tightening. The administrator turned to me. "Miss Harwood, would you like to formally dispute the charges?" My father's eyes widened. "Lena, don't you dare." And there it was, the moment. The crack in the earth where the old me fell and the new me rose. I met the administrator's gaze. "I absolutely dispute them." Dad lunged forward. "You ungrateful." Security stepped in instantly. But I wasn't done. Because when I turned to leave, Dad shouted after me, "If you do this, you're no longer part of this family." I stopped in the doorway. "Good," I said softly. "Then you can't use me anymore." The door slid shut behind me, and that was the first strike. I sat in my car for a long minute after leaving the hospital, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My father's words still echoed in my ears. "If you do this, you're no longer part of this family." For most of my life, that sentence would have shattered me. I would have bent, broken, apologized, paid whatever they asked just to stay included, just to avoid being cast out. But not now. Not after everything. The truth was simple. I'd been alone in that family my entire life. Today only made it official. I let the final remnants of that old pain burn out, like the last ember of a dying fire. And once the smoke cleared, all that remained was a cold, startling clarity. They hadn't just used me. They had assumed ownership of me. My finances, my time, my loyalty, my peace. All theirs on demand. They thought I would keep paying because they believed I had no choice. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I opened my phone, pulled on my notes app, and typed at the top. Revenge, clean, legal, and permanent. No slash tires. No screaming matches. No childish chaos. No, I was going to dismantle their safety nets. One by one. The first step was simple. Cut every access point they had to me. They'd memorized my bank card years ago, just in case. They had login access to accounts I'd forgotten they even knew existed. My father once talked a bank representative into resetting a PIN because he was helping his daughter. Not anymore. I spent the next 3 hours on the phone with every bank, institution, and agency that could be weaponized against me. Resetting passwords, revoking authorizations, placing fraud alerts, blocking secondary contacts. Step 2. Document everything. The forged signature. The recorded call. The detective statement. Eyewitness accounts of the bar incident. A paper trail sharp enough to cut. Step 3. Make sure they can never use my name or my credit again. I filed a formal fraud claim, froze my credit reports, and notified financial institutions that no one, absolutely no one, was allowed to act on my behalf. And then came the final piece of the plan. A piece that would hit them harder than any confrontation ever could. I was going to sever myself legally, financially, and emotionally, and leave them to face the consequences of their own actions. No shield. No scapegoat. No daughter to bail them out. My father had shouted, "You're no longer part of this family." He had no idea how real that was about to become, that I didn't sleep that night. Not from fear, from precision. Revenge, the kind that leaves a lasting echo, isn't loud. It's quiet, calculated, almost gentle in the way a blade glides before it cuts. By morning, every piece of my plan was aligned. The first move was contacting the hospital's billing department. A woman named Marcy picked up, her tone clipped and professional. Ms. Harwood, I see your fraud dispute is in progress. How can I assist further? I inhaled slowly. Marcy, I need you to attach a statement to the account. One that clarifies I was not informed, did not consent, and will not be financially responsible for any charges related to my brother Ryan Harwood. Of course. Her keyboard clicked. Would you like us to also submit the footage and forged documents to the prosecutor's office? I smiled faintly.
Yes.
Please do. Step 1 of the trap. Make the hospital an active participant. Step 2 required a different kind of finesse. I drove to the police station. Detective Rowan met me in the lobby. Ready? He asked. Oh, I was beyond ready. He led me into a room where my father would soon be interviewed. Before he arrived, Rowan helped me file an official identity fraud report. That report would block my father from using my name for anything medical, financial, legal. It was the first wall going up. The second wall came next. Rowan recorded my statement in full. Every detail of the call. Every past incident where my father used my identity without permission. Every instance of coercion. At the end, he asked, "Do you want to pursue charges?" I thought of Dad's voice. "You're no longer part of this family." "Yes," I said.
Calm.
Absolute. "I want this on record permanently." Just as we finished, I heard angry footsteps in the hallway. My father. He stormed into the lobby, red-faced, eyes wild. Ryan followed behind him in a wheelchair, looking like a scared puppy dragged into a storm. "Where is she?" Dad shouted. "Where's my daughter?" Rowan opened the door. My father froze when he saw me sitting across from the detective, perfectly calm, perfectly composed. Hyperrealistic emerald forest valley, mist rising between towering pine trees, sunlight filtering through dense canopy, distant green mountains, ultra-detailed textures, 16K realism. Deep moss-covered rainforest, vibrant green ferns, wet stones, gentle waterfall cascading between giant trees, cinematic lighting, rain droplets frozen in air. Green mountain range at sunrise, rolling hills covered in lush grass, dramatic shadows, crystal clear river winding through the valley, photorealistic detail. Jungle waterfall hidden inside thick greenery, mossy rocks, tropical plants, powerful water spray, warm sunlight beams cutting through the mist. Ancient enchanted forest, giant roots wrapped in moss, glowing green atmosphere, ultra-sharp textures of leaves and bark, foggy background. Hyperrealistic alpine lake surrounded by green cliffs, reflection of mountains in calm water, birds flying, cold morning mist. Green canyon with multiple waterfalls, overgrown vines, wet stone walls, lush vegetation, dramatic wide-angle shot. Massive rainforest mountain peak, cloud layer hugging the slopes, rich green shades everywhere, cinematic aerial drone shot. Quiet forest stream, crystal water running between moss-covered rocks, soft green light, extremely detailed reflections. Tropical jungle path, dense layers of palm leaves and vines, humid air, depth of field shot with sunlight hitting tiny particles. Green fantasy mountains, oversized pine trees, glowing moss, mystical fog, hyperrealistic fantasy realism. Ultra-detailed waterfall inside a hidden grotto, green vines hanging, mossy ceiling, sunlight breaking through a small opening. Calm forest meadow, tall green grass moving with the wind, mountains behind, soft afternoon light. Primeval jungle landscape, gigantic ferns, fallen logs covered in rich moss, dramatic shadows, realistic humidity. Green bamboo forest, extremely tall bamboo, sunbeams creating patterns on the ground, hyper-detailed textures. Foggy mountain forest, deep green spruce trees, thick morning fog moving between trunks, cinematic muted tones. Crystal clear waterfall basin, turquoise water surrounded by rich green vegetation, rocks covered in bright moss. Steep green cliffs with cascading vines, ocean wind blowing through the vegetation, dramatic clouds. Forest river at golden hour, warm sunlight blending with cool green tones, driftwood and moss along the shore, ultra-realistic reflections. Hyperrealistic jungle ravine, narrow green canyon, dense vines, layered foliage, soft glowing mist, dramatic lighting. "Mr. Harwood, we need to speak with you regarding the forged documents and the abandonment charges." My father's face strained. "This is a joke," he said weakly. "She wouldn't do this." She wouldn't, but I already had. And when the officers guided him away for questioning, his eyes met mine. For the first time in my life, he looked afraid of me,